What's going on, guys? It is the underpaid producer, and in today's off-the-cuff podcast clip, we answer the question, should we arm teachers? So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode.
All right, Mike, tell people your, I don't remember the Latin term, curriculum vitae. Wait, is that what it is? Like, you've been to enough graduations, you should know what those things are. Tell us who you are, and it'll become evident very soon why you're here today.
Yeah, my name is Mike Piotti. I'm a longtime friend of Mike the cop. I knew him from our days in high school. I went to school at Eastern after graduation, have a bachelor's in English and Literature, American English and Literature Language, history minor, and I went to public teaching. This will be 20 years. Right around this time, about 20 years ago, I was put into a part-time position, a replacement position at a middle school, and just fell right into the district and went to the high school the next year. I have a master's in ed leadership, so if I want to go into administration, I can. I've thought about it, gone back and forth. And then a few years ago, actually, the same year my daughter was born, the librarian at the school I work at, Carlson High School, retired, and it interested me, and for some reason I wanted to go back to school for another master's and go further into debt, the American way. And
sorry, can't go to gymnastics this week. Daddy's got to get an education.
So I went to Wayne State and earned a master's in library and information science, and have been in the library ever since. So I've been in a public school for 20 years as of right now. I also teach part-time at Wayne County Community College using an English degree.
So, man, is it weird to have worked so long in the school that you went to?
It's very weird because when I first started, many of the teachers that we had were there. And I didn't know what to call them. I didn't know what to call them. Mr.
Hey,
Clementi.
Yeah. You know, when I reached out to you, and I'm glad that you were able to actually come in and do the podcast, it was like I initially thought the first thing that came to my mind was wondering, like, I'm fairly certain we were all in physics class. It was me, you, I think Angela was in there. I think Klimowitz was in there. Like, I think we were all in there, and I just have this standout memory of when he had something stretched across the room or something, and his toupee came kind of like flying up. It snapped back, and the toupee came up, and everybody knew he had a toupee, but it's kind of like nobody ever really, well, we would say stuff about it, but I mean, like, you were there when this happened, right?
Yes. And I don't think it was just sort of we just let it go, whatever.
Those, yeah.
So I didn't know what to say, but now, fast forward 20 years, and I'm the most senior person in the building.
No way.
Yeah, so I'm the senior staff member.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was it just like the time that you got hired that it didn't end up being like, somebody 3 or 4 years ahead of you that was already back, in there?
Yeah, it was just the way the window worked. My hiring and my official hiring was the fall of '98, but like I said, I started a half year early. That was like the first wave of a whole new set of hires, and most of the previous person at the high school, I think, to me, was Bob Jones or somebody that was there for ages that we all had.
Wow.
So it's different. It's
so the Brishes are gone.
They're gone. They're all gone. I mean, the last one I think was Mr. Clark.
Underwood was around for a while longer too.
Those guys have put in 40 years, man.
40
years.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You got to really love educating, or you got to really need money.
yes.
It's
maybe both.
Maybe a little bit of both.
I mean, 40 years in anything is a tribute.
It is.
Yeah, my goodness. What are you going to do for 40 years? Anything?
Video work? That's what I plan on doing.
Ooh, videos not even going to exist in the future.
Yeah, they will.
No, it'll be some like.
It'll be.
You got to do
CD-ROMs.
holographs.
Okay, maybe I'll move into that if it becomes a thing.
It's going to be CD-ROMs.
I'll
in the future,
adapt.
buddy.
You won't be able to keep up.
I'll adapt.
You'll be a dinosaur like us.
Yep.
No, I'll be okay.
Just be set in your ways.
He's like, no, I'll be okay.
I'll be fine.
Be like,
why don't you just believe in your son for once, okay?
Yeah, good luck with
there's
that,
a good
Mike.
suggestion.
Got the educator over here. Yeah, he speaks. You should believe in him. You should invest in him. I'm like, yeah, screw that. He's out of my house now. I don't care. So this week, when we filmed the other episode or recorded it or whatever, it was hard when we did like our little in the news segment to not mention that episode, what people will hear 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
The Parkland school shooting. What was it? Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, I think was the name of the school, but in Parkland, Florida. So that has just, I mean, it's still the top story on any of the news outlets.
And it's strange how it's like it won't go away. And I don't mean that in a bad way, obviously,
right.
but like normally these things, they come and then
it's
they're
2-3 days, and then
later,
it's kind of like
they're gone because the news is
gone.
moving on to the next thing. But it's one of those things that, you know, it just keeps on coming back with new stuff or new ideas or old ideas or
right. And there's a lot of different facets to this one that we normally don't see too. This whole I did do a video on that this week. The idea of it coming to light that there was a school resource officer there and there was 3 other Broward County Sheriff deputies there. These are people that those 4 that seem to be isolated to them basically didn't do anything. And there's some debates and this idea that there's information that's going to eventually come to light publicly that they were told to stand down, and where did that come
that's already
from?
been coming out. Yeah,
it's you know, there's all these different things which I would like to think. I mean, I've been in these types of situations, and I know what I did, and I would like to think that if it was really to that level, that I would just do what I'm supposed to do and go into the school. Even if I had a boss saying, don't go in there, I'd be just turn the radio off and just go do it. You know, like that's how I feel like I would be personally. I feel like you would be the same way. Like, what do you mean don't go in? Like, well, I don't know.
And I don't know if you're familiar with some of the like policy issues that we have as police officers, because a lot of departments are very different.
Mm-hmm.
And even our police department, when we discuss it, because back in the day it used to be, oh, you cover the perimeter and
Columbine
SWAT goes in.
Yes.
And
you don't go in.
And they obviously after that, after Columbine, they did away with that, and they've been advancing that. I mean, almost every 4 years, they've been trying to like put new things out to try to, I don't know if it's to expedite, police response or whatever into the buildings or building or whatever that's, you know, under siege or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
But
Steven Seagal style,
right? But so like with my department, when we learn when we discuss that kind of thing, we have a policy that basically states that the first person there should actually act as the incident commander. And so as the next group of people come in, that person, until they're relieved by somebody with more experience or higher rank, they're to be the ones that facilitate and push people different ways. I don't have a problem with that, only because well, it depends too, right? Because if I'm that guy, and I have more experience, I'm going to always want to be that guy. And I'm not just saying that, like, but there's just some things you just like, I gotta, I want to go in or whatever. Yeah. But, and again, there's so much bravado crap going around that's really why even discuss that part of it, I guess. But
right.
But that's one of our policies. However, we're also taught like if it's life or death, you do what you feel you have to do.
Right. You got to do what you got to do.
Right. I mean, you have to be able to live with yourself.
Every department is going to have a policy that covers them. It's a CYA policy. Every department has it, because it's gonna say something to the effect of you have to do everything a certain way, and so that in the event that an officer does anything any other way, they can say, well, it's not,
or gets injured themselves,
not what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the department isolates themselves from lawsuits and all that other stuff. Like I get it, and every department is like that. The last active shooter training that I did was actually at Carlson, and that's where the training substantially changed, where the first thing when we gathered outside, the SWAT commander that was kind of like running the training is like, all right, so if you get the call of an active shooter and you arrive, no matter how many of you are here, you're going in. Like that was the big, the big change from our policy. Like we would have normally wanted to wait for a team of people to go in. Now it's like, even if it was smaller, but now they're like, if you're the only person here, if that threat is active, you enter, you find it, and you go toward it. Yeah. And that so much so, like they used to teach, okay, you clear rooms, you do it methodically. Now they say, like, listen, if you heard gunshots down here, you just go toward that.
You race towards
go toward what appears to be the threat and get it to it as quickly as you can.
And it's the idea is to kind of shut the shooter down, or at least put them into one particular spot.
Yeah.
So even if there's only one officer, which again is not ideal by any means, and obviously that's going to be a judgment call that an officer is going to have to make. I do want to say this, and I know that we're not off subject, but we're not on subject necessarily either. That you see a lot of of people saying, well, if you can't do it, then don't be a cop. Well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people don't know they can't do it until something like that happens.
Right.
And so it's very difficult to say when people say that. Again, I feel like that's kind of a sense of bravado in themselves. Like, if you can't do the job, then you shouldn't even be a cop.
Yeah.
But people don't. Normally, human beings aren't tested to that extent, and so you can say what you want.
Even as a cop, that's sort of like a once in a lifetime test of resolve or decision making
Fortitude
or
type of thing,
whatever it is.
for sure.
That school resource officer in particular. The other ones, I don't know how long they had on the job. I just know from conversations, and I got to be careful because I don't want to. I'm not. Right. I don't want to put somebody under the bus or whatever else like that. I'm very confident that more than just him didn't do that. So there's something at play here.
You think maybe a policy, or do you
know
think
because
a stand down
I
order,
do know
or do you think
I know for
fear?
a fact Broward County trains the same way you and I just discussed.
Okay,
they learned the same exact thing I learned at Carlson.
Because that's basically universal. That's why they try to push it all out.
It's a federal program. That's how we got the money to do it.
That way we're able to join with other officers outside jurisdictions and be able to still perform the same.
Exactly. Even the format. So if you and I walked in, there's easy, pal.
Yeah,
easy.
I'm crazy right now. Like I just
watch
I'm like this.
Watch the aggression levels.
Slowly get my arm around you. I don't know how else to do it. Like, I'm so tired.
So that even if he and I showed up, if we're both ready to go, then be like, all right, I'm going to take the front. I want you on the wings, and then somebody's got to get the rear. Whatever. Everybody knows. Kind of like the drill, so that it doesn't matter how we're all trained the same, that kind of a thing. So that happened. So it brings up a lot of questions about, I mean, dude, when we were in high school or younger, this wasn't in our psyche.
No.
This wasn't a thing.
No, I think back then, once in a while, you'd hear a bomb threat. Someone would call that in, try to get
to get off school.
Yeah, to get off school.
Not because they wanted to do anything to anybody.
No, nobody even could.
They wanted to play Nintendo.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I started before Columbine, and then Columbine took place and happened, and we'd have a staff meeting, and there's still no sort of we didn't start drills or anything at that point. I don't really think the drills started up until maybe more recently in the last 7-8 years, and then we got sent. We're very fortunate in Gibraltar. Mr. Richardson is our assistant principal at the middle school. And this is a big deal to him, school safety. And he actually was able to round us up, some of us, and send us to Washtenaw County for ALICE training, which they weren't even doing here in Wayne County for staff.
Which is?
The old method used to be a lockdown, the old, if there's something going on out in the hall, shelter in place, and you stay there and you hope that you guys get there and help us. And, like I'm the librarian, I'll use Columbine as an example. That's where most of the damage took place. The person did what they were told to do. The ALICE training is more of an active, you take that first few steps of, looking around, getting a sense of the scene, get your door locked. But, there's other steps to it. Barricading the door, fighting back if you have to, getting out. It used to be locked down and stay in. Now, like if, and the layout of our building, I know I was up there in the summer when you guys were doing the training.
Yeah.
My kids have sports up there, and I saw that, the building was cordoned off. And, nowadays, if something's happening way down in the phys ed wing or another wing, I'm not supposed to lock up in that library. I get my kids out of there, as many kids as I can, safely out of there. And that's the method that we use now, even before this, which is, I'm very happy as a parent in the district.
Do you have a communication that would enable you or be able to help facilitate that? Because schools are large, and so sometimes you might have an incident happen in the east portion of the school, whatever. And while you're in the west part of it, you might not physically hear anything. Is there a communication in effect that would alert you on the west part that, hey, look, there's a problem, get everybody out of here.
We do have a PA system that is not. It's not a single. It can be accessed anywhere in the building, based on phones throughout the building.
That's nice.
So that's nice. It's not a single
interesting.
location.
That's
so that way,
nice.
if any staff member has the ability to do it, communicate. We have some staff have walkie-talkies, especially like people that aren't near a phone, a phys ed teacher, vocational teacher. So the communication is very good. And this is all, we just passed a bond, and even before all this happened, we passed this bond in November, and security is a major component of this bond. We already had, I think, good security, and now this is obviously with what happened, it's going to be a major portion of, improving what we have.
Yeah.
But nothing's
What
flipped.
was, Lige, what was your process? You just graduated last year, so
Yeah.
like you're recent. Like, so what
When we went
What
into
kind of-
lockdown?
what kind of drills, or like when they did go into lockdown or whatever else?
Well, it was awful. I will just be honest. It was literally the worst thing ever. I remember my senior year, so last year, there was like some parent or something. That's what they told us, anyways. That threatened the school,
Mhm.
like they were going to, like, hurt staff and students or something, and so they put us in lockdown mode. We didn't know what was going on, but we did it anyways. My teacher, so I was in this online room, so they have like this online room area that connects to the gym, and it's on like the further side, but there's like these open glass windows and all these doors, and so it's like really low security there.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that's where all the online students are, so you can take online classes there. She put us in the wrong room that was all windows, and then we heard that it was a real threat. And so, like, literally, it is just you hide in a room and you close the shades and
Hope
So
for
the
best.
shelter
yeah,
in-
hope for the
shelter
best.
in place kind
That's
of
all
a-
it is. And we were in the wrong location.
Yeah.
And if that person hadn't been like stopped by the cops, or like what could have happened,
Right.
if they hadn't if nobody interceded,
Yeah.
and then we're
it's
stuck in the
amazing.
wrong room, it's just like
The
really?
2 kids so far in the high school, they went to Summit in what is that?
New Boston?
Romulus?
Huron Township.
Yeah.
I always
over that
it's
way.
like why am I thinking New Boston? And 2 kids this year arrested so far for threats, and it's like it's mind-boggling to look. Dude, the worst thing that teachers would have wanted to have been armed in the 90s to basically threaten kids that didn't do their homework or acted the fool, or in place of throwing an eraser at them or something. That's about it. But to go from just in 25 years or whatever to now it's 2 kids getting arrested in one school in one part of downriver. Like, I mean, dude, like, jeez.
And
Crazy.
I think part of that too is back we joke around about calling in the well, back then you're calling in, you're going to a payphone, or we weren't
throwing the quarter in.
yeah, or if you really wanted to be sneaky, or but you're not. Nowadays, there's so many platforms to send something in, and some of these that I'm hearing about are not even. So they're kids talking, and other kids overhear it, and they may be joking around or being. But I saw today the guy that was arraigned. They're talking 20 years.
That's nuts.
That actually
that
happened to my friend. He was joking around about it, like not even like like the bomb threat thing. He was joking around about that, and he actually got like in school suspension because he was like, I was just joking, but the teacher overheard him joking with somebody else, and he got in school suspension even though it was like a joke, because now, especially with all the stuff that's going on, they take it super seriously.
They have to, though.
Yeah, they do. I agree.
Yeah.
But I was just saying, like, it's kind of crazy how like nothing would really happen back then as compared to like now.
Well,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
interesting how we get, again, you have two students that are arrested, or some people, some kids looking at time and all that. But I mean, I don't know how often it is that you have an actual shooter that commonly comes out and goes, I'm going to shoot this place up. It's
Yeah.
usually very planned and all that, but it's usually also very quiet. And although the signs would be there, not necessarily to you or me, or but in general they're there. And so which we say that there was some problems or issues with that as well. But it's just funny how like they're like, well, let's get that guy for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, because they said it, and I really feel like maybe they were like, it's just a weird kind of weird
it's our way of society of saying like, yeah, you can't do that,
or you can't do that, and we did something.
Something,
but that's my problem is
it's like that meme. Look at me, I'm helping.
Right, but are we
Right.
helping? Because you can do that all day long, which on the surface looks good, and it looks good for politics, right? But
like the TSA looks good for terrorism,
right? That's a perfect example. But is that really the fix, right? And so I find it interesting too, because a lot of schools, they actually have resources. They can. I mean, I don't know if your school utilizes the police department. But
do you guys have a school resource officer?
We had one in the past, and budgets got tight like they did
Oh,
everywhere. And that's
where I am
that's
too.
One of
Same
the first
thing.
things to go. We were very fortunate, and the chief of Gibraltar that just retired, through a grant where he is now on staff at the district. He's no longer a police officer, but he's almost sort of like a liaison, and in between. And we're also very fortunate in Gibraltar. The city of Gibraltar is excellent as far as working with us. In the city of Rockwood, who's right there, and they almost like adopt us as a high school too, because it's from where we went to school. We're sort of like, we're not like just one city. We have like all these different communities, and we're very fortunate that these people are very active and help support us. We're also very fortunate down in Gibraltar because the Border Patrol is right there.
Yeah,
and they've made it very clear that if they're ever needed, they're right there. And I mean, they're actually closer to us than the Gibraltar Police Station.
Right.
And so it's we don't have. But I'm telling you, and like we said, this stuff's been in the news. I just have a feeling that that's going to be coming down the pipeline where it's not. There's going to have to be one.
Yeah.
Budgets, no matter what, you got to find a way.
Well, do you think there is a way to stop school shootings?
Well, let me frame this in, okay? So, because we have two things that we got to address, right? Prevention, and then I don't know a P word that would go with it, but
Try to talk into your mic a little bit.
Hello.
You're kind of
Much
facing off.
better.
sorry, yeah, because I'm not used to having
I
to
know.
look. If I want to see Dave, I gotta turn all the way over
You
here.
can move your microphone to the side.
Don't do it, Mike.
Hey,
Is this
it's
natural?
not unusual. So prevention, and then actually like dealing with it in a response format, like when it happens, and we have to like. Parkland is a great example of this, right? I'm trying to think of like school. I was researching some school shootings. I saw some back in the 1800s where some dad got mad and a teacher had taken like a switch to the kid, got mad, went shot the dad or shot the teacher.
Yep.
Like this is so it's not completely out of the realm of when you look at history that violence would happen at a school, but certainly like at the level and in the way that it's happening now is completely okay. This is a thing now. All right,
it's more of a thing than it was. It's still not a huge thing that people talk about, but it is
right. So
it's a huge thing because there's
the idea
young
of,
lives at stake.
Of
obviously.
mass shootings or school shootings is a huge deal to our psyche in the big scheme of things, right? Like so, like in terms of the number of days kids go to school and the number of days that they do so safely and the number of days that everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do. Yes, it's literally minuscule statistically.
Right.
But the problem is that obviously you go to Parkland, which is a very well-to-do type community.
Yes.
Out of the 3,000 deputies in Broward County, only like 5 at any time are in that area, right? So, and that's who patrols it. So like, it's very small. Coral Springs was the department of hundreds of people that rushed over to help.
Yeah.
So you look at that and you go like, how much are we willing to risk? Because when we look at it overall, the odds are
you talking
it's
about like
not
the
gonna
trade-off of what?
Right. Like this.
How secure do we want to be regarding people's versus people's freedom?
I look at it like this. It's almost an inverse to officer safety, right? The way that I approach a car, the way that I speak to someone, the way that I carry myself, 99 point a lot of nines after it, nothing is going to happen to me as an officer.
Right.
Nothing. But I have to always carry myself for the 0.00 a lot of zeros 1, that situation.
Right.
Right. And yes, out of the hundreds of millions, if not into the billions of contacts with law enforcement every year, only, and I say only statistically, not, value-wise, 140, 150 officers are going to die, right, in the line of duty. So comparatively to all the contacts, it's very much not likely it's going to be me or you or whatever.
Right.
Same thing with the schools, right? It's like an inverse. Most of the time, kids are going to go to school, teachers are going to go to school, and there's not going to be an issue. But we train, right, as officers for that small chance. And now we're looking at like schools, like, do schools need to start training for this? And which is crazy to me. And that's why I wanted you here, because like, I don't have that perspective. Like, I can't imagine being in your shoes, because I can't imagine being like, I went to school to educate kids, and now I'm being expected to think tactically about how to respond to someone attacking us. Like, it's a mentality that, whether we've been spoiled for all these years because as North Americans we enjoy relative safety compared to how things could be. I don't know. So there's prevention and then there's the actual response. So yeah, you asked, and that was like the prevention side of things. Do you think we can actually?
Do you think we can stop it? Yeah.
I want to speak. I will get to. Can I get back to the prevention? I want to speak to it because you hit something when you talked to me about like what my training. When I think when Mike first asked me to come on, it would be like about how I felt about it, because I know Mike and I are Facebook friends, and I'm not I'll lay it out there,
which means everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course,
obviously,
no blocking or defriending. And Mike and I, Mike knows my background, I know Mike's background, and we're civil, and I'm a Democrat. I'll put it out there. I'm a Democrat because I'm a member of the teachers union, and that's the first thing I vote for and look for. I'm not going to die on other hills. I'm going to pick the best candidate usually. I'm not a big anti-gun guy, but I'm also not a big gun guy. I don't, to me, it's. I always tell people when they start going at it, I'm like, hey man, the Second Amendment's not going anywhere. All right, that's my line always. It's like I'm not.
That's a whole other thing though. It could.
Yeah.
It could,
I mean,
which is crazy.
But
to think about.
I tend to believe that, and I don't. So my big thing in this last thing, and I don't post a ton of political stuff, was when I saw the stuff about arming teachers and my colleagues, I just put something on there that I just think it's a ridiculous idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I thought it was a ridiculous idea, a day after the event, I was sitting, and I work lunch duty. Me and they have two staff members. It's a stipend. I spend every day at work eating lunch with 330.
Do they still have that pizza? The same pizza?
Here's one of my things. I'm a Democrat, but Michelle Obama really killed the school lunch.
Oh, dang it!
It happens.
Pizza,
so,
pizza, and chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, my mom was a lunch. My mom was a lunch lady.
Exactly.
She took good care of us.
My school got rid of all the pop.
We had a fountain. I tell the kids
of
we had fountain pop machines back when we were in the day. Like you unheard of.
Yeah, lunch was cheap too. You get like 2 slices of pizza, a couple cookies, and
chili cheese fries was a lunch.
Yeah.
Like a lunch. Like now, well, but the point is, we're sitting there, and I talked to my partner. And we had a conversation like 2 days, and I sat there, and I'm like, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, could you imagine? You start thinking about these things, and could you imagine if someone came in here and did something like this, and then expect me, 42-year-old librarian, there's 300 kids running around. Am I supposed to really pull out a firearm of some sort and try to shoot into this chaos?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the solution that people really think that's going to happen? And then I slept on it for a day and came back the next day, and I'm like, I thought of something even worse. Like a kid's just having a bad day and being bullied. Maybe he's not there pulling out an assault rifle, but he just has a bad day and pulls a handgun on a kid. And now do I have to make this call of, do I take this kid out? He's not, and I'm like, this was not why I took British Lit at at Prairie Herald at Eastern Michigan. And I also thought, I'm like, in the Gibraltar, I'm thought of like the police officers, like, and again, like you said, these are like once in a, like you had the training, but you imagine going into a room, there's 300 kids, you don't know who's from who and who has what. I couldn't imagine you guys like being put in that. I think people, when they want to post something on Facebook or come with a solution, they're living in a movie world.
Well, keystrokes are easy, right?
Yeah, they're living in a movie world where it's a clear shot. There's one kid down the hall, you know who your guy is, and you're taking him out without even thinking of things like just the chaos and the. I went to the Alice training in Washtenaw County, and they had us do. They're like, we want you to practice 3 different ways. One, you're just going to shelter. One, you're going to like take cover and block the door, and one you're going to try to escape. And the one where we had to take shelter, we just hid under the table, and the sheriff's deputy walked around and fired a gun with blanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not around law enforcement a lot. I don't, like I said, I don't have firearms. And the feeling, that the smell and the sound as I was under that table, and the guy is saying, "You're dead," boom, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine, like, people that are like me, like educate, even if they go to the gun range and whatever. I think people are too quick to think that, John Wayne's going to shut this down and solve it. So, and that's where I was, and that's where I still am. I think that it's asking way too much mentally, physically, being able to do it, being able to overcome the situation. I have all the respect in the world for you guys, because that's why you guys train. And like I said, you guys are there in the summer. I still couldn't even imagine, even with that training, having to walk. And again, we're talking about the guys down in Broward County. I haven't said a word about those guys because I don't know what. I don't want to say I can't blame them, but I couldn't imagine the chaos. And by the way, that school has 3,000 kids. I mean, we have half that.
Yeah.
And the chaos, and I think people don't understand. They just see it as a black and white. Oh, there's a bad guy. Take him out.
Right.
It's no big deal. Go to your. Well, I'm not even worried about the semantics of how will you keep it safe or where is it. Okay, so fine. I actually get it out and I have it on me, and now there's hundreds of kids running around, and there's wounded people, and I'm like, I don't think people really take into account. I can't even vision it, and I work in a building every day. I don't want to imagine it, but I can't.
Yeah, as a parent, I'm thinking to myself, like, I want my teachers to teach my kids. I don't want them. I mean, it's like anything else, right? If you could be in a bus or a grocery store, and anything could happen.
Yes.
And you would hope that, the typical person is going to do the best that they can with what they know or understand to help others. You give people the benefit of the doubt like that. But I don't want my teachers spending their time doing shooting drills. I want them to teach my kids.
Yes.
That's what I'm hoping for, that they create an environment that helps my kid, prepare for the future the best that they can, get a good education. And so when I hear this notion of let's just arm the teachers, I feel like, hold on a second, not only from that perspective of trying to put myself in your shoes and think, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
That's not, can imagine if you worked 40 years or 20 more years of being a hybrid between teacher and Steven Seagal. I don't know, no thanks.
Yeah.
But I also see a problem with arming teachers because, okay, where do you keep the guns? And where, okay, so now I'm going into if something did happen, then I come in there and I see you with a gun. How am I supposed to know that it's not you that's caused the problem? How do you put on a vest? What if you're in the lunchroom and your gun's in the classroom? Do you carry it on? How do you sort through all that as a preventative measure? I just feel like I certainly don't think arming all the teachers as the standard course of action is the best solution. I'm not saying that I've got it all figured out by any stretch of the imagination, but what do you think?
We didn't know what each other was.
We don't ever plan anything.
That is true. We're not that smart. But
I'm gonna try the Canadian whiskey.
I don't believe that teachers should be armed in our schools. I say no, but maybe, because there's going to be there more than likely maybe even from this, because this is such a hot subject that will not go away. There's a lot of teachers with CPLs. Maybe there's teachers with CPLs that probably carry every single day in class and you would never know.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I think there's so many issues with it. I think everything that you guys said, it doubles for me. I think you guys practically took the words right out of my mouth, especially since there are so many other options out there. There's a lot of options for defensive things that could help facilitate the quick exit of students. And yet, for some reason, the only thing that Facebook, social media, news, or politicians want to talk about is AR-15s and whether we arm our teachers. Both are very laughable to me, only because you are not getting to the problem, right? You're not actually trying to fix an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And to fix an issue, you have to understand that we will never stop school shootings. You will never stop them, ever.
Right. If we could stop that, we could stop all kinds of crime.
Right. However, we can minimize. We can do the best that we can, utilizing certain practices, things that you guys do, certain things. I think, what is it? Barracuda Security makes certain locks for doors that are very effective, extremely effective. Do classrooms carry glass break, tools? There are certain things that can help facilitate getting away from a situation, but we are not talking about that. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking about that. But the first thing we want to talk about is Army teachers. They aren't military personnel. They're not police officers. They're trying to help teach our children.
Yeah.
Why are we asking them to even think about doing that?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
What about like because pilots could now. I don't know what year they started this. It wasn't immediately after 9/11.
Not immediately, but it was not that long after.
At some point after, once the Federal Air Marshal Program was going and all that stuff, then they let some pilots that elected to go through the training, be trained, and carry a firearm as a pilot in case they needed to use it. What do you think about that as an option? If teachers said, sign me up. Maybe they did 6 years in the Marine Corps, came home, went to school, became an educator, and now they're like, sign me up, I'll do it.
And I've had some teacher friends that, I don't know, even on posts that said sign me up or whatever. And I'm a parent in the district. I think, like what you said, I think there's other routes to go down. I think there are other routes, and like you said, preventative methods. My focus, and when we do these drills, because I had kids ask me, we had a lot. That's the thing. Kids are very sharp nowadays. They're not. 8-9 years ago, it was sort of, okay, we'll do what, we'll go into this room with a glass.
Well, they would have had to sit in front of the TV at 5, 6, or 11.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Now everything bombards them constantly.
But I mean, but they're not. They're inquisitive. They want to know.
Very inquisitive.
So they
too inquisitive.
So in the library that I oversee has plenty of ways in and out. It's not a typical classroom, and so some of the students that work with me asked, what. And our administration was really good about saying, to have these conversations. Please have these conversations. Talk with the kids. They've seen some, like you said, back in Columbine, years down the road, you could have saw the surveillance footage, but kids were watching video that day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kids wanted to know, what would you do, Mr. Piotti, right now here? And I'm like, well, here's what we're going to do. There's something out in that hall. I'm going to grab as many of you that I can, safely, and we're going to get out of one of these back doors, or and that's what I mean. I'm not gonna grab my gun and go stand out in the hallway, putting other people at risk. Right. I'm shot down, my gun's on the ground. Now this guy is, another piece, and
that's a good point. But also, not just that, but like you said, what am I going to stand guard? Where your best use is facilitating the exit of yes. your students immediately. Yes. The routes. Easy way in, easy way out. That's where people want you. That's where parents want you.
Yes. And like I said, yes, there may be people. I still think that when it comes down to it, this person that trained and has carries, and you're still going to be put in a position where you may have to shoot a kid that you saw every day. Like when you guys come in, you're police officers. You're trained. You're trained to take out the threat. It doesn't matter. These are people we see every day and work with every day. And now all of a sudden, are you going to freeze for a second? I mean, I bet you are. I bet you are if you're not a law enforcement officer. I bet you, and then that 1 second,
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, it holds true of CPL holders in general. And if you're not from Michigan, I don't know what states call it, CCW, whatever, concealed pistol. If you carry a pistol around or firearm, even a lot of those individuals, who obviously I would have respect for, and I'm pro second. I mean, look at my freaking shirt. So it's even then, they don't typically train enough.
That's...
Going to the range,
right?
Going to the range and shooting a piece of paper for a half hour
is not the same as stress training.
Is not dealing with an active shooter as a teacher. It's not the same. Not even in the same ballpark.
And you were talking earlier, like we're not talking like a party store where you and 2 other people are in the party store,
Right.
or the bank, and there's 5 people waiting in line and 3 employees. We're talking 1,200 people that are going to be in a panic.
Yeah.
With
exactly. So the keyboard warrior that's like, I'd do it. Like, really? Have you seen 1,100 people hurting away from a violent situation? Are you going to shoot the guy through that, or
that's what I think people.
Well, I mean, if you're Dave, you are.
I would.
Dead-Eye Dave.
I do
call
everything.
him.
They call me the Eagle.
It's the whole thing. So
Stop it. Get some help.
there's a drop.
What time are we at?
We are at 57 minutes.
All right.
No, good. All right, we're good.
We've made pretty good time.
You have a curfew?
I'm fine.
I have a curfew.
What's your
I
curfew?
got to work.
Do you really?
I work tonight. I told you I work midnight. I work overtime tonight.
Oh, overtime. What time do you got to be there?
None of your business. I got.
Well, we kind of need to know a little bit.
How much longer do we have you for?
I don't know. You tell me. Well, it takes me now probably 45 minutes to get home.
You got to go home first?
Yeah.
Wait.
I didn't bring my lunch. I didn't bring my lunch. My boys packed my lunch.
That's what the Golden Arches is for, bro.
Ew. I mean, it is delicious.
This is
10:45. Yeah, no, I gotta do
McDonald's.
it pretty soon.
What do you think?
I'm good with it. Are you all right?
It is syrupy, kind of. Not mapley though. I don't know.
My dad raised me as a Canadian whiskey. So it was either Canadian Club or Crown Royal. Crown Royal for special occasions.
Nice. Break
Canadian Club for standard days.
That's great.
So the actual response, I don't feel like we're there yet. But so, what are the things that you think we can do if it's not arming all the teachers like this blanket thing? What would you say is in your mind a concrete step that we can take? I guess maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I feel like the reason schools are a target is because they're a very easy target, and yeah, of course, that's because if everybody had guns, okay.
You put 3 military guys in that school instead of leaving them homeless.
I get it. And it is very true, right? That if you're going to have nefarious intentions, you're a coward and you're going to pick easy targets.
Yeah.
I mean, you're jacked up in the head if you're going to try to kill kids anyway. I mean, like there's something seriously wrong with you, obviously from the get, but not so serious that you haven't thought it through that you're going to pick an easy target because you're a coward.
Yeah.
So, they're not going into gun clubs and trying to do mass shootings. So we all agree that just arming the teachers to the gills isn't the solution.
Right.
So what is a concrete step that you think, like when you sit there and kind of like contemplate this whole sort of like modern day issue, what do you think is a good next step?
Well, me personally, I think that, again, being prepared. So if you think about the idea of schools, where a lot of schools they're old buildings, they're older buildings. I don't know of any really new building. I mean, it's very rare. So the layout of certain schools is horrible, where one of the schools that my son went to actually had most of the classrooms were on the outside. Mm-hmm. So
did they have a direct access to that outside?
That would have direct access to the outside. Why not? I mean, you could even go that far if you're actually trying to design schools to be a little more safe when it comes to that. Because if you have schools in a circular fashion or something like that have easy access outside that open for an exit door, emergency fire, whatever, but you can't just come in. Well, then you're already in a better
50 or 75 feet from being outside.
Yeah, you're already right there to be outside. Again, Barracuda. There's other security measures for doors that can barricade doors extremely well. That could allow for easy exit to get out of there.
Well, can I say something? My school, it's a newer school, so it's not super old, each classroom has its own exit. And if there's like one part of the school that's shut down, like there's like different doors to different hallways, like gates that get shut, so they can shut those gates. They're like like the metal storefront gate kind of things.
Yeah, for sure.
So they have that, but also every school does have like one side that they exit, and then they have different like designated walking paths to get to the front of the school or the back of the school.
But see, that's a problem for me, only because you were just saying that your school, they didn't know how to facilitate an emergency. And so even though it was set up for easy exit, what did they have you do? They took you to they somehow moved you and then sat you down.
We were locked in a room with no way out.
Right. But also, gates like that are good, but they're also bad, because if law enforcement is all of a sudden locked out of a wing, that's a bad deal too. And I think the first instinct is for people to go, "Oh, hit that button," and have something like that happen, because people want to be safe.
And then the active shooter is caught on one side, and the police officer can't do anything.
Which isn't good. And then it makes
even
if it becomes a SWAT or a response would be hindered at that point also. So
people have been asking. A lot of people have been saying, because I guess there's like veterans volunteering, like, oh, just stand outside the schools. Like, I don't know that. Also,
how do you vet that though? Too?
Exactly. How do you qualify that? How do you maintain that? Like, there's a lot of. I don't know that I would want. I appreciate the sentiment of I'll stand out there, but there's a lot of like, okay, are we giving you this responsibility? Like, as a parent, who is this guy that's supposedly defending my kids?
Yeah. What are the qualifications? And how are they recertified?
I mean, liabilities with schools are just as crazy as with police. I mean, the hoops.
Yeah.
I will tell you, as far as preparedness, I'm very happy with what we do in Gibraltar. Now, we have the former chief, we have a security team. We meet every month, and we've been actually meeting more often. And we spread information about what we're going to do. We are doing a lot more drills, safety drills. We used to the running joke is you have fire drills all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the last time a building burned to the ground.
Right, a brick.
A brick.
A friend of mine brought that up too. Like, since I think it's been since the 50s.
Yeah.
Since a student has been killed in a fire.
Yeah. So I mean, and we still do the fire drills.
We drill it.
We still do the fire drills.
Yep.
And
maybe that's why.
But the safety drills, I'm going to tell you this. They walked us down to the middle school to watch one of theirs first, and the kids literally grabbed every piece of furniture when this drill. A teacher got on and said someone's in this wing, and they barricaded these doors. I mean, pile up stuff over and over. They have bought one of and I don't know the term, I don't know the name, and maybe what you're talking about, but it's a lock that our doors open up outside into the hall, and it's a thing that you shut the door, and it's like a wedge, you stick it in, and now you can't open that door.
Yeah,
you can't open that door.
That would be one of the for sure.
I think that for every one fire drill, you should have 4 of these, safety drills as to what you're going to do. And we also do them and let the kids know that these are flexible. This isn't 10 out of 10 times we're doing this. Because what if it's right outside this door?
Yeah.
And that's what I think. It's scary, but you have to do that. And it trickles down to the elementaries too. And and again, I'm a secondary guy. The lowest I've ever taught was 7th grade. I coach middle school sports, and that's why I've gotten so much gray in the last 2 years. The elementary teachers, and we haven't even touched on like something like that.
Yeah.
We're just talking to me. That's a high school guy.
Yeah.
There's Preston, there's Newtown. It's not a high school only thing.
Right.
Bless their souls, because I couldn't imagine doing these kind of drills with like a 2nd grader or a 1st grader.
And you got to do it, right?
You do.
It is.
You do, but I mean, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it, and I think that's the first step. It doesn't cost much to be prepared,
it just doesn't.
No.
In the end, it just doesn't cost that much to try to prepare yourself.
Probably a lot more. I think one of the solutions is again, as much as I would appreciate the sentiment of veterans or retirees or retired cops saying like I'll step up and do that. Again, if you add all these factors in of these unknowns, and if it's not coordinated, if it's not controlled, if it's not prepared, it's a kind of like a crapshoot. So better communication, even increased communication between law enforcement and the teachers and staff. Probably from the teachers, don't honor them all, but like those drills, they're important, and really emphasizing that as far as like knowing the building. Really, really knowing where are all the exits and where can I move inside of here from one place to another. And I can tell you that is something that cops can't be lazy about either. It sucks because you end up in a place and they could have a lot of schools. It could be big, it could be small, whatever, but you got a lot of them and they're all laid out different.
Yeah.
And you can be like, well, I could study that map today or get to know that school a little bit better, but I'm going to go do this. Like, man, you just can't be lazy with it. Like, you got to be, is it likely? No. But if it happened, I don't want to be caught with my pants down on that. Like, I need to be in the schools. I need to walk around. I need to get familiar with it. I need to find how I'm going to handle that situation, because if the call comes out and it's like, it's room whatever.
Oh yeah,
this school,
and they do that.
You're kind of like,
going, I don't know where the hell.
I don't know where
is.
that's at. Like, and I need to know how to get in and around those schools.
Well, can I ask real quick, what do you think about? Again, we talk about prevention. I don't know how your school deals with cameras, like live feed cameras. I think are important for police, like surveillance, not for the police just to have it, but to be able to throw that live feed to the police, to be able to monitor. But also, I'm pretty certain that all the classroom doors probably have some window access. Being able to cover those. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but being able to cover those things makes it so. And you lock a door and you throw I don't know, a curtain, whatever, paper, what doesn't matter over it. All of a sudden, you have somebody who's, like you said, Mike, they're not right mentally. Yeah. And so what they're doing is feeding off fear. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that gives them power, because they are cowards, they are weak. And so when they see, if they have a visual, so taking away that visual, I believe would also help, something like that too. I know they're little things, but I think they actually, in the end, make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny you mentioned that. We were just Larry was just talking to me about that. We have a surveillance system at the high school, and it's going to be upgraded and needs to be upgraded. And that was something they talked about as sending a live feed to Gibraltar. And I think Larry even said we don't even want to have recordings. We don't want to have to. We just want to be able to. Any in the way he explained it to me, it's like and then even on the weekends, they're at the station. Somebody pulls in, goes up to the stadium or something at like 2:30 on a Saturday morning. Well, we can just send somebody over. Why is this person going out there? But also, like, worst case scenario, they got a live feed going on. They might even get there before a call comes in if somebody's just happened to be glancing at it and seeing it. Absolutely. And we are in those phases. That's We're discussing that, and I think I can't speak. I'm not an administrator. Right. I would imagine. And I know they had it in Broward County, but it was like 20-second delay for some reason, or there's a delay on it, which sort of made things almost worse. But I think those are the type of things to start.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, if you're going to do the guy at every door, well then you know what, you better do it like the air marshal system. Spend the money and then put a federal guy. It's going to be a ton of money, but if you want to do it right, I'm just telling you, if you want to do it right and you want to do it so that the person's background checked and you're not going to have any liability on it. So you're either going to shoot the moon or don't do it.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's time for, like this, the school resource officer at that school, 30 years on the job, 30 years plus. I would love to give him the benefit of the doubt and think he's done a lot of great things. And it's unfortunate that the not great thing was then. But I think in too many communities, the school resource officer is looked at more like, he's the good guy. He's able to build that rapport with kids typically better than others, and it's almost like the easy gig, you know,
mm-hmm.
and
for sure,
as opposed to, like we view SWAT, right? Like, oh, SWAT, really? We should probably try to elevate the concept of school resource officer as a super important position, even tactically. Yeah. Like they should get, if it's between them and 3 other guys to go get this training, they should probably get it. Like trying to sort of like really put, our best foot forward when it comes to who we're putting in the schools and what kind of training they receive. That would be specific to that. We know we have canines. They train every week. Mm-hmm. They go
every week.
And the law requires reports written for all their training. Every car that they search, everything that they do is documented day in and day out, because the federal law requires that if this is going to be court admissible, you better have documentation to back it up. Same thing with the school resource officers. So I guess that's my thought is, what can we do to take an active step? Man, we can really up the game when it comes to school resource officers. We don't put the burden of enforcing law or protecting citizens on teachers. Put it on the agencies that already exist for that purpose, and really up the game and investment of energies and time and focus for that purpose.
Well,
and so school resource officers, they should be meeting weekly just like canines. You better train and work it out. And
I agree.
Get reports from schools all over the country. This happened. Learn from best practices and make this a harder target. I mean, along with the actual physical layout of the building and what the drills that teachers can engage in and stuff.
Yeah. Does the police department have blueprints to the school?
I did.
mean,
at the last
access
department I
to
worked
that.
in, it was great if we were dispatched to a school, right in the dispatch system, we could hit map, and literally the map of the
that's
school
nice.
with the room numbers would pop up. So if wherever we were called, if it was the gym or if it was the janitor closet on the second floor, I could just
That's nice.
zoom in and be like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going. Even if I wasn't like 100% intimately familiar with that particular building, I would know. So, and I gotta imagine that not every police department has that advantage.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have that advantage right now at where I work.
No.
So-
Yeah. Me either.
We're at an hour and 15, by the way, just to give you a heads up on the time.
So, I mean, I guess we all seem to be answering the question the same way, because I'm going to title this, "Should we arm all the teachers?" I think we're pretty much all, without pre-discussing the idea.
Which is funny. I mean, I didn't talk
Say-
to any.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Coming
talk
to
to
the
you,
term
Mike,
of- I don't think that that's necessarily the solution. I don't think that I am opposed to the volunteer system, but you bring up a lot of good points
Yeah.
that
for
I
sure.
hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
Even with, hey, I'll sign up to be a teacher that's armed or whatever. You still bring up a lot of points. Like, it would require a lot of ongoing training
Not
to
just
really feel like
a
that person
lot.
is really capable of doing that. Because I think about how we don't even train enough as cops.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
budgets, right? I mean, it is what it is. So now you expect this person to be an educator and do training enough to meet the same situation that I
Yeah.
do, that I'm paid to handle. Like, it's just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I don't get it either.
And we have to make them harder targets. That's just the world we live in.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I'll give you the last
Well,
word.
I think it was a great discussion. I think we all agree that we don't want to see this happen again, and that's one thing. Whatever political party, whatever, no one wants to see this.
Right.
And I after Newtown, I sort of got defeated on the issue because I always felt like if this happened to young kids,
Anybody.
nobody's gonna. If you can't change anything, then it's heartbreaking to me, that story. And I'm not downplaying what happened in Florida at all.
Right.
But to me, after Newtown, it really hurt me for a while. It hurt me for a while because those were babies, and it didn't change anything at all. And I'm a little in a better place now because I think there is some movement going, whether it be for more security. But I think it's just very careful that we don't just jump and listen to whatever one person's posting, either way or the other.
It's
Like I
so
said,
well. Everybody, we've talked about this on the show too. But like, everybody has their side.
Yeah.
And you dig in, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't
And
matter
that's-
what happens.
and that's the problem.
You just-
And that's
you
why
have,
nothing.
you have
and
the
that's why
default
nothing
default
happens.
switch,
Yep.
right? Instead of like, okay, let me think about this through that, because again, look at the shirt. I'm someone who is very, very pro Second Amendment. As much as I am the first, third, fourth, and all the other ones. Like, I'm just pro Constitution. Like,
Right.
I'm a big believer that this is a good idea. But just because you have a Second Amendment doesn't automatically mean that because a teacher has the right to carry a gun as a citizen, that you bearing the responsibility of training to
And
defeat
actually
an active
carrying.
shooter situation in that capacity. You as a citizen, carry all you want. Like, train as much as you can, great. But me expecting you as a parent to be my kid's educator and
Protector.
trainer of
Literal
all things firearms to be
tactical
ready, like,
tactical
it just-
protector.
And find them a good book to read this weekend.
yes, like, yeah, you better return that book on time.
Did you see the meme, by the way, with the arm the teachers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then
The silencer
silencer
for the
there.
librarian. I did. I saw that today, and I'm just
I
like,
thought about bringing that up actually because I saw that.
That's been shared with me about like 7 or 8
yeah,
times
of course,
already.
You know what's crazy about this is that it's like our sort of format is like this. It's just unscripted, 2 off-duty cops drinking whiskey and talking about whatever. And we did one other serious one when the Daniel Shaver case came to light. Like the body cam was released after footage and all that stuff, and we went through that, and it was like very well received as far as like us breaking something down like that. You know, we're not.
That's not normally who we
It's not
are.
normally.
No.
We don't want this. This isn't really like a cop show.
Yeah.
We're just like, this is our chance to just kind of like blow off steam and talk about topics that we enjoy just talking about and have fun with it. However, I think that, you know, when certain things happen, it's kind of like, we got to talk about it. It's hard to like, you don't want to be too lighthearted so that you come off as though you just don't care about what happened.
Callous,
but at the same time,
joke.
I'm not some serious commentator. That I'm just a guy, and I've got kids.
We don't want all
You've
of
got
our
kids, you've got
content to
kids.
be super depressing all the time.
It'll be serious, but at the same time, this is like a super huge topic that we just can't ignore at the same time. So, I mean, whatever.
I think it was handled very well. I appreciate the time.
I think I did a great job.
You were
Very excited
amazing.
about myself.
I was looking at you the whole time
Thank
thinking,
you.
All right.
this guy's amazing.
This guy's not as
I
big
think
a
I'm
screw
going
as I
to lead
thought.
us out with our new beat here.
Thanks, guys. Honestly, it was a good discussion.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And here we go.